Hey, this is Corey Maselli on the Corey Maselli Show. Got my trusty sidekick, stuffed his face full of meat and potatoes, Matthias Bergstrom Anderson over in Denmark, holding it down, probably doing stuff we don't want to know about. Today we got a badass guest. We got Thomas T.D. Davis, like a super athlete, one of the best powerlifters on the scene today. And T.D., I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your last few years of competition, what you got going on. And then we're going to get this interview underway. This is the Corey Maselli Show, Rap Feed Radio, Boss Talk Shout Out. Here we go. What's up, TD?
What's going on, man? What's going on? How's it going?
High speed, man. Forward moves and high speed every day. Just trying to stack wins and change the world, man.
That's what I like to hear, man. That's what's up, man. Well, for those who know, I'm Thomas Davis, Thomas T.D. Davis. I have a 2375 total in powerlifting, which is number 5 all time in sleeves. I best 716 in the full power meet, which is the highest ever in the full power meet.
Not bad.
No, not too bad. Squatted 804 with a torn patella tendon and pulled 859 with a torn patella tendon. So I'm not sure what the potential is of that yet. So
still don't know how the hell you did that. That's ridiculous.
I didn't know either. I thought it was just tendonitis. And he was like,
wow.
No, it's a tear. Or it was like 75% torn. So
yeah, that's mind blowing.
Yeah. But that's what I do, man. So
right. Well, all right, little background. I remember each year we had the squat legs booth at the Arnold Classic. And see this big old country dude coming by on overballs. Each year I saw him, he looked bigger and badder and stronger. So kind of give us, how'd you get into the sport? Like, how'd you get rolling with it? Like, just kind of a nutshell, like a version of that.
Honestly, man, I started really like heavy lifting because of football. So that was like my thing, like just lifting for football and whatnot. So I got into it. I love lifting. I actually started loving lifting more than football. I would rather go to, our weight class than, being on the field. I mean, I love football too, but I just fell in love with the weights. And that was like my getaway per se. So
right.
I loved it. I fell in love with it. I just continued on and, I did USAPL for a long time, the drug-free stuff, and I still have a record there. You know what? I had a good time with them people, man. It was just different, So I'd say I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I learned a lot, but I mean, my personal thing is I won 3 world titles in IPF. So it was like, what else is there to prove? You got guys that are in the USAPL, IPF that stay there, and they continue to win the same championship over and over again. When are you gonna want to evolve? Regardless of what's going on, if you want to stay drug free or not, when are you gonna make that stretch to go with the big boys? I just so that was me. I want to do that. So
big boy shit all day now, man.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. Well, what year did you make that transition?
I made that transition about 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I won. It was my last IPF championship, which was in Japan. I broke the IPF world record, which was 300 kilograms. So I broke that with 300 kilograms on the bench, which was 661 for those who don't know.
Yeah.
661 pounds. And I did a meet. I did, what was his name? Dan Green. Everybody knows Dan Green. I did his meet, Boss of Bosses meet. And that was actually my first full meet because I was like, I want to try it, see how full power is. And I did that meet, and I actually had the second best total there. But, I mean, unfortunately, all these big meets go by dots and Wilks, which is stupid to me. But
so you got a basic total 3,400 to win.
Yeah, I'd have to total something dumb, which, I mean, it'll come here soon, but it's like, man, I'm over here busting tail. But definitely enjoyed the full power thing. And once I got it, man, I got hooked. So ever since then, that's what we've been doing for the most part.
Yeah, I remember following your training up to that meet, man. That was really cool. It seemed like you were just knocking down those gains consistently, boom, week after week after week. It was fun to watch, man.
It was cool. I think honestly being bench only for a long time, because being a bench specialist, you really have to learn everything and you really have to learn all the rules because it's easier to get called for bench stuff
Oh
than
yeah, trust
like
me.
deadlifts or squats. So if you learn those rules and you learn that etiquette from there, it's like bam, you can transition to the other two lifts just as well. So I think that was good for me, and I mean I love it. So
Yeah, man. It seemed like years ago, like bench press was like the halftime show for raw lifting. Now, shoot, you smoking 700 plus in the 3 lift meet. What Larry Wheels hit? Six something? What 660 or some damn thing?
I think he was like 640.
Or whatever it is, man, gone are the days of relying on your squat and deadlift to hit that monster total, man. You don't got a giant bench, you ain't competitive nowadays. You got to be dominant in all three.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the plan. So, I mean, but nowadays it's like how it was back in the day. Everybody cared about bench, but now everybody's on deadlift. It's like the things kind of switched now. It's like it used to be like how much you bench. Now it's how much you deadlift.
Right. That's it. And thank God this one lift I was decent at. So come on now. Man, I got here. All right. You did have kind of a pec injury recently, right?
Yeah, I tore my pec major.
Well, we're going to talk about that after. Well, we can talk about it right now, so I don't forget to mention it. We broadcast out of Force Powerlifting over here in Naperville, and the man behind the scenes is Dr. Randy Sabuski, and he offers like stem cell treatments, PRP, all these other really advanced therapies. So when we get, I want to hook you up with him, cool. See if there's work you guys can do to advance that, advance the recovery process. But anyway, we'll get back to that. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it. So did you have surgery already?
Yeah, I did. I had surgery 15 days ago.
Tell me about it.
So surgery actually wasn't too bad for me this time around. So because I just had the knee surgery in November.
Yep.
This knee surgery November 9th, and I had surgery this surgery I think April 1st. I believe it was April Fool's. So I mean, just having these two major surgeries on the same side of my body was just like, what the heck? So, I didn't like that too much, but
getting you bionic up, man.
Man, it's like, well, you know what? And it's crazy because like I didn't think like I was gonna tear my pec at any time soon, but doing what I was doing, it was a little dangerous. But I've done
what exercise did you obviously benching, but wasn't it some kind of specialty bar or something?
Yeah, it was the Buffalo bar. So it's already kind of curved, so it makes you go deeper. So with that, I had to deal with that. And I also was larcening it. So I had my feet up. So I was completely flat on the bench while I had that. So it was 600 pounds. So I did 600 pounds. I did it for a single first, smoked it, but my legs kind of went down. So I was like, let me perfect it. Let me do it again for another single and keep my legs up. And that's where I probably should have listened to my gut and said, no, just let it go and whatever. And that second rep, it just went pop. So
live and learn. But it's cool. I remember back when I was a college football player, I actually was overly obsessed about bench, and I'd probably been better off benching a little less. But regardless of that, I was going for I think it was 545. Super aggressive. Came down, boom, started to push and just pow. There's an explosion went off my left pec. The type of blow that I had, the tendon actually stayed in place, but the muscle just kind of like disintegrated in the middle of the belly of the muscle. Even to this day, I got like a hole. You can like stick your finger in my left pec and touch my rib cage.
That's crazy.
So thank God you're just able to be surgically repaired, because I think you'll probably come back stronger.
Yeah, that's what my surgeon says. And I had a pretty good surgeon, Dr. Brian Radigan and Dr. Oni. They're from Southern Orthopedics here, and they work on guys from Notre Dame. So, all the Notre Dame football players and those guys, they go to him. So he was like that.
Yeah, it seems like when you blow something out and the tendon can actually be re-anchored in, it tends to come back stronger. Because I know me having a veteran of those patellar tendon restructures, man, they came back stronger than they were before. I don't want to have to go through it again. Promise that. Shoot. Man, let's talk about that too. Now, I know your recovery seemed to happen really fast on your patellar tendon repair, but yours was not a full blowout. So
no, it was 75% torn.
So what the procedure, let me back up. What was mine was a complete blowout. So they took the kneecap, drilled 3 holes in it, split the tendon into three strands, and like basically just like screwed it or nailed it back into the kneecap. probably a little more to it than that, but not a lot more. With a partial tear, did they do that drill anchoring process, or what? How did they get the thing repaired?
I believe that's what had happened. They did that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I was on a lot of drugs at that time. They kept me pretty comfortable. So when they were telling me things, I'm like, okay, cool, let me go back to sleep. Like,
that's great. Why is there a pink dragon around you? Dude, when I woke up from my last knee surgery, I woke up literally giving a lecture about outboard motor propellers. And it made sense. I couldn't do it now if I had to. And stuff, I going under, like back in the day, man, I would party on anything, but knowing someone would knock me out, that intimidates the hell out of me. I did not like going to that surgery. I was freaked out. I was like in this nonstop panic mode for like 2 days prior to the surgery, just knowing they were going to knock my ass out. I hated that.
Yeah. It's different, bro. And then like all of a sudden you just wake up and then like you're in and out of sleep kinda, and you're just in that recovery room. It's like it's the weirdest feeling ever.
It is weird, man. Well, okay, so back to your like patella reattachment surgery. What was you recovered fast, man? Like, tell me about how the process went.
Honestly, like my whole thing was, and what I've always been told and I've heard, don't rest all the time. And especially with surgeries like that, you want to continue to move your body a little bit. So, I mean, on day 2, I kind of would put like a little bit of weight on it here and there, and then like as the days progressed, I put a little bit more weight. I wouldn't do it to the point where I was in pain, but I mean, I wanted to be a little bit uncomfortable. So I did things like that to come back a little bit better. I mean, I messed around with some peptides, some TB500, and that was it. Honestly, I didn't do anything else. I took my vitamins like I was supposed to. I hydrated a lot.
Yeah.
I just moved it. I continued to move. And
I think that's critical there too, that movement.
Yeah. I mean, people I think if you don't move your muscle for a while, everything around it gets tight. So all those, it's like, it's going to be even harder for you to come back. So might as well just stick out a little bit of pain here and there and keep it moving. And I mean, the recovery speaks for itself. So I feel like right now I could probably squat 700 without anything.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what are your plans for your squat attack right now? With the pec injury, I'm sure that's a big wrench in the equation also. But just for progressing on your squat, what do you have in mind like over the rest of this year, for example? You got a game plan in mind, or take it week by week?
My game plan right now is to really just build my legs up. So a lot of SSB squats, leg presses, leg extensions, leg curls. I do a lot of stuff with knees over toes guy. That's my homeboy.
Okay.
And, so I have my Monday where I do like my regular squats and all that stuff. And then on Thursday, I come back in the gym and I do my knees over toes stuff. I do a lot of stretching, a lot more reps, a lot more hamstring specific things. Just kind of mimic my deadlift day a little bit, because I can't keep deadlift right now yet, but I want to continue to keep my hamstrings real good and work on glutes a little bit more as well.
Sure. What are you going to do for your glute work?
A lot of hip thrusts. That's what really gets my glutes going, honestly, and that's what I do. I do some kickbacks here and there with a band. So I love this band. So
my homie Ethan Bandy runs Triple Threat Performance down in Arizona. It's a real top-notch sports performance place, man. Trained a lot of pros, bona fide results year after year. And he is a big proponent of those hip thrusts. I mean, he's just, every time I talk to him, he reminds me I should be doing them. But then I remember Donnie Thompson. He's out there. Now, respect to both. Donnie's position is hip thrusts are a waste of time and some booty girl stuff. I don't know. It makes sense to me, because whether you're a powerlifter, a football player, a boxer, whatever, man, that hip power is everything. So I don't see why an athlete wouldn't want to do them. So even though I don't follow through on it myself that often, I wholly believe it's a good idea to do, man.
I mean, look at athletes that do it. Like look at, what was his name, James Henderson, dude from the Steelers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he used to do 7 plates with that, like no problem. Like, and look at how explosive he was.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Matthias, what are your thoughts on that?
On the hip thrust, I mean, I think it's an overall good exercise, and the reason it gets a lot of shit is probably because there are better exercises for the lockout strengths and squats and deadlifts, But I mean, it's an easy exercise. You can get down on the floor at home and get some blood into the hamstrings and the glutes pretty easily. You can take the time. It's extra practice on the floor as well, like a glute bridge, but it's very similar to a hip thrust anyway. Like squeeze those shoulders into the floor, just get some of that mind-muscle connection going, especially for the newer lifters or someone just coming out of an injury or surgery of some kind,
Right. Yeah, like I said, my buddy Ethan Banny, he works with like $1 million athletes, and that's one of his staples, his go-tos. Whether he's working with a tennis player, football player, someone coming back from any sort of injury, he like incorporates very, very intense hip thrust training into those programs, man.
I mean, if you really want to step it up a notch, then you should try a reverse plank.
Reverse band hip thrust? Let's do it, man.
No, a plank, like reverse plank, that you're planking.
I thought you said a reverse band hip thrust.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yep.
So I mean, like that shit might cramp up your hamstrings like within the first 3-4 seconds. It's a very hard exercise. You cannot use a lot of weight on that. It's basically where you just have your upper back and your heels on the floor, and everything else is just is raised off the floor. Very, very much harder than a hip thrust.
Cool. Yeah, when you get over to the States, Matthias, you'll have to take me through it.
Yeah, I'll give you like a booty workout.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, TD, I'll share something with you. Shout out RIP, Louis Simmons, man. I want to share Louis Simmons' story with you. Not sure if you've ever heard me talk about it, but when I was a college football player and I had that first patellar tendon rupture, it was pretty devastating to me. The trainers at my school, the rehab people said, "Well, when we get you in the back, we can play a game of softball." I'm like, "Bitch, I don't even play softball. Get me the fuck out of here." So I walked out of the training room and didn't do anything for a little bit. I didn't except just drown my sorrows and have a big pity party for a few months. So finally, something snapped back in gear, and I'm like, "Man, I got to get back. I got to figure something out." I went and talked to Ernie Franz, and he's like, "Well, Corey," he said, "for this kind of thing, I think you should talk to Louis Simmons. He's got some really good stuff for coming back from this sort of an injury." Called up Louis. Boom, Louis took me under his wing. He coached me through the entire rehab process, and within 12 months of the injury itself, and keep in mind the first 3 months I didn't do nothing, man. I was like a deadhead hippie for 3 months before I started anything. Within 12 months, I was squatting a PR, and it was a pretty solid PR. Going into my senior season at NIU, I squatted 900. 12 months, 11 and a half months from the date of the injury, I squatted like 907. So, that Ernie Franz had a lot to do with that also, but for the actual specific rehab process, following Louis Simmons' advice was just like skyrocketed my recovery. So he had me do a lot of foot and ankle training, a lot of calf training, a tremendous amount of hamstring training as well. And, a couple of little weird things here and there. But the recovery process was like a third of the time of what most people thought it would be. So I don't know if you did any of those similar things for your recovery, but man, the Louis Simmons protocol, I thought of actually doing an article about that experience just to help anybody out that has had to go through that patellar tendon surgery, because it could be a beast, man. I've seen it take a lot of people out.
Yeah, man, and definitely just because like the extent of the injury and you know how it is when you come out of surgery from that, bro. Like it's a real deal. Like you really can't do like squat. Like, you can't do anything. Like
I told you that pain level is a little bit different after that surgery, man.
Yeah, that was probably the worst pain I ever had.
Yeah.
As far as surgery, I was in a lot of pain. Like I had to go to my family doctor the next day, and be like, "Hey man, I need something stronger," and I'm not one to take pain meds. Like I don't do anything like that. But I was in like pain, dude. That was horrible.
It gets your attention right now, man. No question. It's interesting. I remember, did you experience that that scar tissue break when you were getting your range of motion back? You heard some crunching and crackling?
It's in the middle of it right now. I'm doing that right now.
Okay, check this out, man. The final, I remember I had both knees done. So the first time I was laying in bed on a Saturday afternoon, the phone rang, and on an instinct I jumped up, did all of it at once. Blew all the scar tissue out, got 90% of my range of motion back in one sudden movement. It was kind of crazy. So it was the pain wasn't even, it wasn't lasting. The pain was like a flash. And as soon as the pain hit, it was gone, and my knee functioned a lot, flowed a lot better. But then the second time around, it was when Dave Hoff hit that 3,100 total at the WPO meet. And I was jammed up.
The one where he pushed us, Louis?
No, it was a couple years after that. I went over there, I got excited. I went over to congratulate him. I stepped over something, caught my foot. Same thing. Like got a big chunk of that scar tissue broken up by accident, if you will, like all of a sudden. But so gaining that, so the audience understands, after you get that patellar tendon reattachment, anyone who's had the surgery can relate, that sucker is like a piece of timber. It does not want to bend all that much. And as soon as it starts bending, it gets your attention like right now. Like what? So how much flexion do you have? How much range of motion do you have in that knee right now?
I'd say I have pretty much most of it back.
Okay.
Already. Like my range of motion is really good. So like what I like to do, especially what I do any day that I train, even on bench days, anyways, I like to do like I warm up like doing Hatfield squats. Like I'll do a few of those, but then I'll sit in that position for a while so that my knee is just in that position where I'm all the way down and like my hamstrings are touching my calves. Like I
Okay.
work in that position and I really force that. You know, I try to open up my tang, I would stretch all that down there, and most importantly, try to keep my ankles to the point where they're stretching as well. Like
Yeah.
you said, the ankle mobility and all that's very important for all that to come back. So,
right,
all that stuff.
Got you. Matthias, you got any questions on that level?
Not really. I think it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, got you. All right, what time we have for this first segment, man? How much time we got before we take a quick break?
We could stop now or go another 10 minutes. No,
Well,
I think we started like 22 minutes ago, something like that.
Oh yeah, so TD. I grew up in the early France culture, man. We trained as we competed. We did primarily like single rep development, like especially for like squatting and deadlifting. The crew in that Aurora, the general Midwest area that trained with Ernie Franz, on a Saturday, you trained like it was a competition. And that was like, there's a little more to it than that, but really the magic to the Franz Nation back in the day was you get a bunch of hungry athletes in the same room at the same time, everybody competing for PRs, man. And it was like really reps were just not a thing that happened. There might be like a down set with some working on depth or something like that, but 90% of like the meat and potatoes of the training was being highly competitive, polishing up your technique, and hitting that single rep training. How often do you do that when you're training prep? Are you really hitting those singles?
Those singles don't really come into effect until probably about 3 weeks out.
Gotcha.
About 4 weeks out. That's how, because I got Josh Bryant. That's my coach. That's also Julius's coach. And
well, it's not wrong.
Oh no, that man's crazy. But I mean, look at what he's done with me these last 4 years.
Yeah.
I went from a bench only to number 5 all time in sleeves. And
hell yeah.
I've only done how many full meets? 4.
Right. Yeah.
I don't question. I get mad sometimes when I read that stuff, my workouts, but I gotta get it done. So how it is.
Not like the whole, not the whole minutia of the program, but like as your strength progresses, like what kind of flow is it in general?
So like, let me go ahead and go back. So like 10 weeks out, let's say we're 10 weeks out right now. We're doing probably some sets of like 4. So I'll have a top set of 4 or something like that. And then we do a lot of back downs and speed work. And I'm a big advocate for bands, especially for me on deadlift because I'm an explosive lifter. So like I really love to like put bands on something, especially for my speed.
Bands make you dance, baby.
They make you dance. And I'm telling you, like, well, people. I know a lot of guys like change, or chains. I mean, I don't like chains for the simple fact that I don't get that eccentric part down.
I follow
the bands because people don't work the eccentric as much, and I think that's a lot of why some people aren't as explosive because they don't work the eccentric. So I like to have a struggle on the negative side of the movement. But then as we progress, the weight gets higher, the reps get lower, but we continue to kill the accessories the same way. And
yeah. How do you structure those accessories in general? Like, what are you doing?
As far as like let's say for bench, coach has me doing dips, a lot of tricep work. I'm gonna tell you one thing about Josh. We do back every day.
That's what's up.
Even if I'm doing like squats, I do some type of back.
Yep.
And you know, my back's got to the point where it's hard to, you know, wipe my butt. You know, I gotta, you know, it's like it's hard because my lats.
Time for a shower,
bro. Yeah, it's like, you know, your back is just so wide and thick. Like, man, when I'm peaked at competition and I'm pulling something, bro, I feel like I can just pull 1,000 pounds off like anything. Like, my back's just so thick and my lats are so engaged. You know, the whole back just feels so strong. So
it's kind of funny you mentioned that. Just kind of because I blew my pecs out, I just couldn't train like the front half of my body like I wanted to. So I just, for years, just spent time blowing up my back. It made a huge difference in my training. I just did it because I love training, and I really missed benching. So I remember I got to like doing 500 for 8 bent over rows, because a bent over row became my version of benching, just to get like, you know, shits and grins in training.
right.
And it's carried over. And I was able to bench 600 with a single ply with a completely destroyed pec. So a lot of it was just utilizing that back, man. So had I learned that lesson younger in life, probably be benching a hell of a lot more. But at least it got me to survive through, you know.
Yeah. That back's very important, man. People don't understand. You can't just hit back once a week. You hit that back way more often. Yeah. You have to hit your back in way different ways.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite back accessory exercises that you like?
I'm gonna tell you what. This exercise, I love it because it works, but I hate it because it sucks.
You can hate it. Love it.
Seal rows are great. I love seal rows. Seal rows are so great for you because, I mean, you're fighting against gravity already because you're just holding the weight while you're on your stomach on that bench and you're trying to pull it up, and it's just like, man, like you can't cheat your range of motion really because the weight's wants to come back down all the way down. So you're like all the way up, all the way down.
Like a bench positioned over a barbell, and you're just rolling into the bench, basically, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Those I love straight arm pull downs for a good lat pump, and I also like long bar seated rows because it mimics a bench. So I have my hands on the bar where I would bench at, and I'm pulling same way. I'm pulling to my sweet spot, and I'm just really working that groove right there.
Yeah, it's basically just the exact opposite of your bench, essentially, when you're training. Yeah, it's cool.
Or too, like they'll go on a power rack and they'll have a bar and they'll pull the bar down with reverse bands, and they mimic it that way as well. You can also do it that way.
Cool. Yeah, it's awesome.
Do you do pull-ups, chin-ups?
I could do like 2 pull-ups. I ain't gonna lie to you. I can't do too many pull-ups. I'm a little big. I'm like 430 I'm like 420 right now, but
you got lunch after this, and you're back to 430 in a minute.
Man, I'm trying to keep it down right now, man, as much as I can, and just build this muscle up on these legs. So
yeah. And do you have like an ideal fighting weight when you go to competition, or just is what it is?
It is what it is. But I try to get a little leaner because, you know, with the dots and all that stupid stuff, I come in a little bit leaner if I
got you.
can.
Do you feel stronger if you're a little bit leaner?
You know what? Deadlift definitely feels stronger. I'll tell you that, because I'm able to get a little bit lower without some of the belly in the way. So
yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, maybe a little bit smaller quads, right? Make it a little bit easier to lock it out, right?
Actually, my quads blow up, especially at the last part of prep. But I mean, as far as like the midsection, it just makes it way, way better to get down for me. So I just gotta kind of fight through the quads.
Yeah, like how much weight do you lose? Because did you say you are 435 pounds?
So I'll walk around about 430, 440, and so I can get down to about 420, 415. I want to be at 400 my next competition. So that's the goal. So I think I can still bench the same with that. Plus, you know,
I think you can bench more.
I probably could.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like a heavy body weight. I mean, I can imagine you're recovering better and like feeling better walking around, like just better if you are like 20 pounds lighter, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So maybe the nutrient partitioning as well. When you eat some food, your body absorbs the nutrients a little bit better.
And that's why I have nutritionists.
Yeah,
she's awesome, man. Like I have her, and ever since I've gotten her, like I've been at the same weight but my body fat's gone down. I've just gained a lot of like stupid muscle. So like, and then when it's time to, cut a little bit more for the meat, it's like, it's game time for us. So
give us an idea. What's the daily meal plan look like for you? Just rough on an approximate level.
Sheb, she has me doing, so in the morning I do 4 scrambled eggs with a cup of egg whites. Because I was eating like 8 to 10 eggs every morning. But so we substitute the other 4 for the egg whites, so it's less fat. So I do that. And then I'll have a bagel with like some peanut butter on it. That's my first meal. And I usually have a protein shake. So I have a 2-scoop protein shake. And then my next meal is usually, my next 2 meals are they're either ground beef with bison, and that's 300 grams of ground beef and bison because I mix the 2 together.
Nice.
And it's really good. I like it. I have about 150 grams of rice and about 100 grams of vegetables. Yeah. And I have 2 of those meals right there. And if it's a training day, I'll have a Jimmy John sandwich. I have a big turkey tom right before I go in. I put a bunch of mustard on it because the mustard is going to help me not cramp up as much too.
Yep, exactly.
So I put a bunch of mustard on it and I smash that. When I'm done, there's nights I can't really eat after I train, and it just kind of depends, especially with the volume she has me eating. So if I can do another meal, I'll do another meal like that. If not, I do a protein shake, and I do like a 3-scoop protein shake, and I go to bed, man.
Yeah, cool. Hey, do you remember that product we launched back in 2020, that CNS activator product?
Vaguely.
Yeah. Well, you talk about cramping. And when I got back into my powerlifting, age 40, I decided to go ham on my powerlifting again. I noticed that was like my biggest nemesis, was like cramping and my energy crashing out. It was like I had a fairly easy time building my strength and training. And I'd get to these meets, man, things would lock up, breathing wouldn't feel right. This stuff felt as off kilter. So I did a bunch of research on how to prevent that. And I did come up with a really kick-ass product. When I get, COVID kind of jacked that up too. We launched it at the Arnold 2020, and it was pretty big, man. A lot of Ryan Kennelly used it and liked it. I got some strength athletes out here that have used it and liked it. Personally, it got me through. As a mid-40s broken ass freaking old hot rod, I was able to squat over 1,000, pull over 900, and salvage a reasonable bench. And I'm telling you right now, there's no way I could have done it without that blend. There might have been other ways of accomplishing it, but that's how I accomplished it. So we need a blend of the right types of electrolytes, minerals, a few vitamins, and then a big burst of magnesium citrate to kind of help that flow of oxygen through your body too. Right. But I'm going to give you some when I get it back up and running. You try it out and tell me what you think. I don't even have any to sell right now. We got to get a whole other batch produced, but it is coming back on the market, for sure.
Well, let me know, big dog.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what, why don't we take a quick little break? And Matthias, if you send the link for part 2, that'd be awesome. Corey Maselli, T.D. Davis, Matthias Bergstrom Anderson, a.k.a. The Sexy Viking. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with you. We're at Phoenix Radio. Bang it.